How do we repair after a conflict within a relationship? This is something that we're not taught growing up in school. So I'm going to give you my framework that I've been using in my life, something that was taught to me, something that I teach my clients, and it's really it's a very simple framework that'll allow you to come back to love, because nothing is worse than getting into a dumb argument where there was just a trigger and a lack of responsibility or whatever the pattern, however it plays out. Everybody's different, but I want to give you the quickest and just most effective way to get back into connection with your partner. So I'm going to break down why it's important, and then some simple framework steps that you can go through if you're finding yourself in conflict with your partner and you want to be able to move out of it and get back into connection. So the first step that I want to talk about is, why is this important? The reason that this is important is that fights cause a lot of pain for both parties. It doesn't really matter whose fault it was, whether it was your fault, and specifically, like, most of the time I'm talking to men in my videos, that's my audience. Whether it's your fault or not, there has to be somebody has to take the initiative to initiate a repair conversation. And men, most of the time, this is an area that we avoid. So this is going to be a really good video if you want to dive in and really change the relationship dynamic. But it's very important because when we're in conflict, it draws a lot of energy out of us. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's say there's an issue, there's an argument, you both storm off, you're angry, frustrated, sad, whatever the primary emotion is, and you can just feel it on the other person. They could even be in the other room. You could go out for a hike. It's just like so draining to be in that, like that frustration and the anger, knowing that you have to have a conversation about it. Like, the whole thing can really drain us. And specifically, if you're somebody that will let this go on for days, then just think about the amount of energy that you could be putting back into your relationship or other areas of your life. But, avoiding that is not helpful. So that's why this is so important. And like I said earlier, this is a skill set that you will develop, and over time, it just becomes easier and easier and easier. My wife and I have literally gotten into an argument in a car to go meet somebody less than 10-minute drive away, and we've gotten into the argument, done repair, kind of cleared the energy field, and then we're able to step out of the car when we got to see some friends, and we were able to go through that whole process in 10 minutes. So this is a really valuable skill set. Let's just dive right in. So the first step is you have to regulate your nervous system. So if there's an argument, if there's an issue, it might be a good idea to give yourself some space or respect the other person's boundaries if they've asked for space before you initiate a conversation. So that means that maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 2 hours, maybe it's, hey, look, after dinner tonight, let's sit down and have a conversation about this. But you need to be able to arrive back less activated emotionally than you were prior. So the first step is to regulate your nervous system. I recommend that you go for a walk, you can hit some exercise, but most importantly, you want to breathe. Even when you come back to the conversation, you want to be drawing as much breath into the lower abdomen as possible, because the deeper the breath, the more relaxed your nervous system is going to be. And so when you come back to the conversation, you need to acknowledge the hurt in your partner. And I'm explaining this from the perspective of it's kind of your fault. Okay. So you need to acknowledge the hurt. You need to say something like, hey, I understand that what I said earlier was very hurtful. I said X, Y, and Z. You basically just need to own the fact that you overreacted, or whatever the thing is that you did, and just take full responsibility, and you need to acknowledge it. Say, hey, like, I'm sorry. That is on me. You said this thing, and then I got reactive. I made it mean this about myself, and wasn't my intention, but I understand that this is where I went wrong. And that alone will diffuse so much of the tension in her, just by like taking ownership and just owning it and just sucking it up and saying, absolutely, like, this is on me. Like, this is where I went wrong. And then you also need to get into the impact as to like, hey, I understand that when I did that, you felt sad. I understand that when I did X, Y, and Z, that must have made you feel. Like, now you're acknowledging her and her emotions and how it impacted her. So the step one is regulate your nervous system. Step two is like, take ownership. I screwed up. And then step three is, dive into the impact on her, because that's the part that she cares the most about. It's easy to just be like, I screwed up. Sorry, babe. But like, hey, I screwed up and this is why. And this is the impact that it had on you and your nervous system. And I can understand that when I slammed the door, that reminded you of that time XYZ. Like, you're really getting into the impact of how it impacted her, and you're just explaining this to her. And then the fourth step is you're going to talk about like what you're going to do about it. All right, great. So next time this happens, I'm going to take some space. Or, hey, like, maybe it's like whatever you are actually arguing about. Maybe you didn't follow through on something that you're going to do. Maybe it's a matter of committing to, hey, I'm unorganized around this specific thing, so I'm going to make some notes or build a spreadsheet or set reminders on my phone, but like give some actual thing to like show that you're going to work on this moving forward, rather than just being like whatever and just toss it out the window. Like, show that you're actually taking actionable steps to like do better next time, essentially, right? And I understand that silly fights are going to happen. Big fights are going to happen. It doesn't matter what relationship, good, bad, short-term, long-term, the most beautiful relationships in the world, people fight. Like, there is passion, and there's so much that is healthy about disagreement and arguing. And it's just, if we're not repairing, if we're not going through, these processes, then that's where resentments really start to build up over time. And most relationships, I bet you, I'm not a relationship expert. I work with a lot of guys around the realm of relationship, but I would assume that most of the time people's overreaction is just a series of built up resentments that they haven't cleared or haven't worked through. And there are processes that you can do on your own, but this is more of a relational process that you can do. And then the last step that I would recommend doing is, hey, is there anything else that I missed? Like, ask the person that you are doing repair with, like, is there anything that I missed? And just wait. Give her an opportunity to say, oh yeah, this one other thing. And then you can kind of work through that. But you basically want to leave the conversation kind of clearing the air around the argument or around the trigger or around the reaction. You go through the full process. Because then you're actually going to be able to, kind of shake off that energy, take a deep breath, and then move on with your day. And this can happen so fast. Like, you can do this in 10 minutes, you can do this in 5 minutes, and it's just a really good skill set to cultivate. And it can be really uncomfortable at first, right? Taking responsibility for what you did or what you didn't do or how you reacted can be really uncomfortable, but over time it just becomes something else that you can just do. And it's going to really allow you both to come back to love as quickly and as cleanly as possible. So I hope that video helps if you've had some conflict and you're looking to do some repair. If you want to dive deeper into it, there's a deeper, more in-depth process called Imago Dialogue that has been written about, so you can check that out. But if you like the video, feel free to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, drop me a comment. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.